Right, so while the paint is drying on the detail work, what I'm going to do is do the bombs. So let's put the compressor on, ready. Now, we've already painted the noses red, as you can see, but we need a red ring. So what we're going to do is use an O-ring out of a set, I think it cost me £1 at Poundland, and we're going to roll on to the point that we need, hopefully. Get the O-ring on. So that we have right where the red ring should be. So that that's there. We're going to do them all. Went on perfectly first time. Again, that one's fine. It needs to be pulled down a little bit. And then we'll put our last one on. Right, then we've got our olive drab for the bombs. As I said before on the last video, this isn't available yet. It should be available fairly soon. Still just in the testing phase, so we don't need a great deal. Just clean out the air, make sure the airbrush is clean, yeah, and a small amount into the colour cup, and then check our flow, which, come on, that's it. Working nicely. So all we're going to do now is just sprout our bombs in our olive drab, making sure we're getting in all the areas. We're finishing it off. So making sure the bombs are completely painted. So hopefully that'll work out and look nice. Just a little bit more. Make sure. Put that to dry for a few minutes. So we'll do all the others. Again, getting in everywhere so that everything is painted. Get that all done. Just doing, like I say, we're just doing odd bits while parts are drying. It's like armament or bomb loads are not my forte, to be truthful. Normally I wouldn't put them in, but I'm trying to change the way I do things myself, so hopefully we'll be able to do different things. So we're back again. And now we're going to do some dry brushing. For this I'm going to use, again, Tamiya's XF16 aluminium, just for some highlights, but we'll show you a little bit easier this time on how we're going to do it. So all we're going to do, we've got a really soft brush I tend to use on this, and we dip it into the paint and then knock it all off so there's nothing else come off the brush. Then we dip it in again, so that's twice, and again knocking it off, because we don't want to be it's not painting, it's dry brushing. So that's all we're going to do. Now what this is going to do is bring up the details. So we've got the back, let me bring you in a bit, the back of the mozzie area, and we're just going to dry brush over, highlighting all the detail so it looks not as bland, and it looks quite nice there. I'm quite happy with that. I don't know if you're able to see that very well on the camera. There you go, a bit better. You can just see it glinting there. And what we're going to do, even on the bombs, just give them make them look a bit used, rough, bashed about. They were looked after, obviously, they're bombs, but we just want to make them a bit scruffier and a bit more interesting. And again onto this side, onto this one. So we're not being exact, we're not painting everything or dry brushing everything, we're just literally going over the area. Right, let's do it again to load the paintbrush up. So this time, because we've done it once, we need to do it once more, get rid of the mess. Okay, we're going on the inside of the nose, in all those areas where we just want to pick out and just add a little bit, just to make it look a little bit more worn like they were in the war, and across the gun sight, just to highlight it a little bit better. Hopefully that'll pick that up, and you'll see, there you go, just to show you what it looks like in there, and it looks quite nice. I'm pleased with that. So that can go to one side. All the areas where scuff marks would be is all we're doing, just getting the areas together like so. On the other nose section, we've got this large area here, and all we're going to do is dry brush over that, and you'll see all the details start to pop. And then when we put a wash on it in a minute, that'll look even better with a bit of luck. So we're just bringing the detail out, making it look just like we want it. Then we've got the front of the cockpit. It's literally just going over areas which would have been scrubbed, rubbed away by feet, just to get that in there. So again, hopefully you'll be able to see that. Take you out a little bit. Having a look round, see what else we've got. We've got our oil parts, which we painted yesterday. Oil tanks, hydraulic tanks, whatever you want to call them, which are already painted, but we're just going to give them that little bit of a more of a used look by just dry brushing them. Landing and takeoffs, obviously they are in the middle of everything, so let's say we'll just dry brush them up. That looks nice. Having a look round, see what else we've got. Of course, we've got the radio transmitter and receiver. Again, give it a brush round on the edges where that would have been rubbed. So, and we're just going up and down until we're happy. On that one, looks good. And we've got the transceiver. Getting a bit harder now because the paint's wearing away. We're using it. And that's basically it. So it's that easy to do. And it brings out a lot of detail. Now the next job for me, once I clean this brush up, I've got to unband those bombs so you can see what they're like. Just put our parts out of the way just for a few seconds. Now we sprayed these with an O-ring on so that they are nice, and then what we're going to do is just peel that off, and there we have our nice red ring all the way around, all sorted. And that'll go for all four. Keep those O-rings. So those bombs are now ready for their delivery system, which then reminds me that there is a bit more dry brushing to do, but instead of taking the paint out of the paintbrush, like the tin, I've got the Bombay, and we're just going to rub up and down literally everywhere, even on our steel plate that we've painted in. So we're just going to rub it all over. What this does, it just highlights all the details that are in there. Hopefully you're seeing this, what that comes out like, and I think it comes out fairly well. So that's all ready. While I've just got the pad out, I have already, excuse me, I have already sorted the prop, or the props I should say, ready for the tips to be painted. I've masked them up, so we'll come in with our flat yellow. Need very little on this. Blow it through, so it's through. But I've masked them up using frog tape. So all we're going to do now is the first coat, very light on the tips. I'll bring you in a bit more. Just very, very lightly on the first pass. And the second pass slightly heavier. Getting it on. So that's one done. That can stand in the Oasis, as someone reminded me what it was called the other day. And then the second one, just a blow over to begin with, to give the paint something to adhere to. And again and again. And then the final one. Very gently on the backs. Just like so. I'm going to leave that to dry. Then I'll clean out the airbrush and we'll come back and start putting some stuff together. Okay, so things are moving on now fairly well with the build. So we're going to have a setup session now and get everything in that we need to put on. So the first bit is going to be our rudder pedals. Now because I've already painted this, and if we put extra thin on, it's gonna create a problem with the paint. So we just want a little small amount of Gorilla Glue, super glue of whatever you decide to choose. Excuse me while I put it away. Right, so we've got our rudders, pedals already painted. Checking which way they go, which they go like that, and all we're going to do is put a smidgen of super glue on there. I'm going to find my favourite tweezers wherever they are. There we go. And we're going to offer it into our area, he says, somehow. Here we go. And that there is spot on, just like so. So that's our rudder pedals in and looking quite nice. I think you can see, yeah, quite nice in there. And then we have our another part to go on there as yet, which is our control surfaces, or the instrument panel I should say, which we need to take that off that piece of sprue, like so, and we can then work out where that, exactly where that's got to go, which will be there. Okay, so we get our cocktail stick. Let's put that back over there and there and here, just so that it holds in there nicely. Now you'll see that the instrument panel is actually still drying, so I'm being very careful not to touch it. And we'll push that on to where it's got to go. I'm quite happy there. That's it. That's all we need. So that's that piece on. Now we have a transmitter and a transceiver to do. Now the transceiver goes just there. So we just put a dab of glue and put our transceiver on there like so. Our receiver is slightly different and goes just across there. Oops. Just like that. Just hold it there for a second. This glue is getting old, so it's taking a little while to bond. And it glues on just like that. So we've got our transceiver and everything on there. We have our yoke, which we can just, where's the hole there? Start it off and then get our tweezers and then poke it in. So that's in place. Just checking everything else. we'll come back. So we've got most of the cockpit together. Everything's nearly ready for a wash. So I'll come back in a few minutes and we'll go from there. Right, so now we'll get the seat on. Just check to see how it goes. Having a look. Right, so that goes up that way. Okay. The bottom bit glues onto there. Like so. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to glue the main area on first. Like that. So that's glued on there. I really don't know how much of this will be seen, so I might have to come back in with a paintbrush and just do a little bit later. And then we have the actual seat itself to go on. It slips onto there. Like so. Very nicely. And then we have this nice little piece which goes on top of here. So I'm going to have to paint a little bit first, so I'll just do that and I'll come back with some more. So that just shows you need to paint everything really. I was trying to be a bit clever, not knowing the kit, but hey ho, with it. Right, so putting this piece on now will make the cockpit complete-ish. Once I get it in, that's it. Is it on? Yep. Now although I use super glue on that, what I'm going to do is just run some extra thin underneath that, just to help that bond. So that'll bond down nicely now. Lovely job. Right, so that's getting somewhere. We've now got the cockpit together and she's ready to go into the main tub, the main area. So if I just show you roughly, she'll slide in. And we've got everything hidden that's going to need to be hidden. Now I'm very, very happy with the way that's fitted in and looking good. We've got our nose section's going to fit on there. Hopefully. It's not quite back far enough, like that. And we'll fit in little snicks and holes that needs to go into, but we'll do that shortly. And that's all looking good. I'm quite happy with that so far. Right, so I'm going to call that part another part, get back to some editing, come back later to the table, and we'll start to glue it together. By the looks of it, everything's going really nicely now. Speak to you later.